and I call this meeting of the Rolling Wood Planning and Zoning Commission to order. And we'll start with roll call, if you please, on the end there.
Patricia Barnes, present.
Jeannie Nyer, present.
Jay Van Bavel.
Okay, Dave Bench. And we have Stan Springer as our legal counsel this evening. Do we have anybody signed up for public comments?
No, sir.
Okay, good. And moving on to the consent agenda. I trust you've all had a chance to look at our minutes. Once again, expertly written, whoever did them. They really are good. Nikki, nicely done. Okay. Do I have a motion around the consent agenda?
I move to accept them.
You move to accept?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes carry. All right, moving on to the regular agenda. Discussion and possible action on proposed ordinance amending Chapter 107, 107.3 of the Rolling Wood Code of Ordinances related to playhouses and playscapes. Now, we're back on this again. This is going to be pretty easy. You'll recall that we had considered this 2 meetings ago, and that we had taken verbiage that had been crafted by council members Brown and Hudson, and looked at and decided that we found it largely acceptable, except for some issues. Our preferences with regard to the numbers, the distances from this, the size of that, how high, and so on. And then we moved to approve it. And thought, and this is my failing, thought that it would go to City Council as our recommendation to take it to public hearing. Since we did not use those words, it did not go to City Council the way we had intended. So all that we're doing with this evening is we have an opportunity to change it again. I doubt that we'll do it, but we also need to move on it in a way that says that we, as the Planning and Zoning Commission, recommend that this go to City Council for them to set a date for public hearing. I think I have that right. Do I have that right? Okay. In fact, that is my motion.
I second the motion if you made the motion.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any additional discussion around it? Any questions? All right, yeah, it's pretty plain and simple. That text has not really changed, so I'm happy to see it go the way it does. Okay, we have motion second, no further discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Hearing none, the ayes carry.
I just have
So-
one question about that.
Yeah.
As I understand it, it doesn't have to be approved by City Council to go to public hearing. Is that correct?
What they need to do is to approve that it go to public hearing. I expect that there will be discussion of it before they actually make that approval, but I don't know. I'll be at that council meeting whenever it happens.
Well,
They can
was
change.
something on the last council meeting where they agreed to send it for public hearing, but not that they were agreeing to it as stated. So I'm not sure it was some other
they
item.
had agreed to send it back to us so that we could make the recommendation for to recommend it for public hearing. But they didn't discuss it any further than that. What happens next, I don't know. We'll see. Okay? Okay. Moving along to regular agenda item number 4. Now, what you have, let's see, what happened? Did we get the, we did. We got the most recent, thank you. Thanks, Nikki. All right. What this is, discussion and possible action on proposed ordinance amending Chapter 107, zoning, Article 5, administration and enforcement, Division 4, changes in regulations or zoning district boundaries of the Rolling Wood Code of Ordinances. Now, you all know that, recent legislation at the state level has changed some of the rules around how we approach zoning ordinances, and in fact, some of the work that we do here as a Planning and Zoning Commission. Our legal counsel has been asked to pull those changes and put them into a document that we could look at, decide, turn it into an ordinance or a set of ordinances that will replace the current ordinances that are on the books for Rolling Wood. That has happened, but there have been many iterations since then of what has come originally from legal counsel and where we are today. What you have here as our final, as the last of these attachments in item number 4, is the most recent revision being proposed for the ordinance. But I gotta tell you, it's not finished. There's more work to do. I've been kept in the loop on this. Councilmember Brown has been really in the lead of looking at what has been provided by legal counsel and making recommendations for changes, improvements, and so on. And I've been kind of peripheral to it, but tuned in. I'm being shamed into having to go back and look at the statutory changes myself and then come back with a better idea of exactly what it is we're trying to do. But I do know this, that there's a lot of work that's gone into this so far. It is almost ready for prime time, but it is not quite there. And it would not be right to just drop this new document on you folks and say, well, do we think we ought to recommend this to go forward? No, it's not a good idea. So we're not going to take action on it. Okay? What we will do is go home, get yourself a cup of coffee and donut and take a look at it and see whether or not there's anything in there that offends you, or if you think that that some of the wording could be better. And then we will bring it back next month and take a look at it. In the meantime, I'm going to be, and I can promise you whatever you're looking at next month will be slightly different than what it is today. Not much. But I'll be looking at the statutes and making sure that, in fact, everything seems to jive, if everything seems to harmonize with what the state wants. Now, an interesting thing about all this is that the state requires certain things. We have the power here in Rolling Wood to, we have to follow that. They're providing us essentially the minimum requirements. But we have in Rolling Wood the power to increase those requirements, make them tougher, whatever, better, whatever. So those are things you could be thinking about. You could be saying, well, maybe we need to have a longer period between the time that we post and the time that we go to public hearing on a thing, or something like that. If you felt like that, there's an opportunity to put that in.
A question first. Is the second version that was online the most recent version?
The thing that says 7.1, 7.1, which is today, 2026 red line amendments with comments on Chapter 107. It's that bottom one of those 4
The
attachments.
second one, okay.
Okay?
And so that's the most recent?
That's the most recent. I mean, really recent, like hours.
And it would help us, it helped me at least, if someone could say what are the major changes or major points that are being changed in this, rather than my having to read it and kind of try to figure out, what's being changed.
Okay.
We'll get that done.
Yes. But Nikki, what you got?
So legal counsel, as we've been going through this, thank you, Brooke. Thank you, Dave. As we've been going through this, when we got the first iteration of it, we have a memo that's kind of telling you what the side points are on that, but it's defining them out a little bit more. And I think with that, it kind of went with everything, but then there were so many edits that it didn't really jive together anymore, so it didn't make sense for you to put that. But there will be, they did provide one. It's just so
Okay.
far different now that
Could we
Yes.
get that as a committee before the next meeting, and so that we could kind of look at what the major changes are?
yeah, let me get with Charlie, just
Maybe
to
a
make
board,
sure.
a board pointed kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a full memo,
Yeah.
but everything has kind of changed from what was submitted with the memo to what you're seeing now. So it doesn't really make much sense. So, but
And-
yes, I will try to get that to you as soon as we come to a more solidified ordinance
Version of it?
that we can
Okay.
then pass that
And
memo document
on this copy, I take it the red is new language completely, right? And then an underlined red is new language. What is highlighted red? Like paragraph H, notice of hearing for comprehensive zoning changes. I just want to know what the highlighting means.
I think that goes to attach to the side comments. Is
Maybe, maybe you know, Stan, do you know why he highlighted that?
What, the comments?
I think, Jay, if it's that highlighted area,
Yeah,
I
just
think it is.
It shows that.
section H.
Yeah,
is-
that highlighted portion,
Uh-huh.
if you go look over to the side margin, that's a comment that's attaching to that area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I understand. I'm not a lawyer and I don't play one on TV, so I need to ask these. Okay, thank you.
Right. Now, as an aside, but a related thing, Nikki, Alan, Brooke, and I have been working on a process that takes an ordinance all the way from inception, all the way to getting actually into the code. And the idea being that we recognize that there have been a few snafus along the way, and things have not gone linear. You know, we've had to circle around a couple of times on certain things, including, for instance, this business about the playhouses. So we're trying to improve the process so that everybody knows exactly where we are and where we should be. Chief among this, one of the big changes that we're looking at is that after we have, this group has conceived of what it is that we think needs to be included or changed in the code, that will be immediately turned into code-like language for us to consider in the next meeting. So that what we will be doing is looking at a codified version of what we had discussed early on in the process. And then we can make our changes as needed to that version. And based on what those changes might be, then we can go forward and send them off to City Council for, you know, approval or public hearing or whatever it is we need to do with it. But the idea is that we're gonna keep it in this chamber as long as we need to before it goes to City Council. City Council is not gonna get involved until much later in what we have used as a process, okay?
Makes sense.
This is all a good thing in my view. I'm really delighted with the progress we're making on this, and it just makes great sense. So,
And I would think it would also simplify the process for the council members as well.
I wanted to ask, a while back, there was a subcommittee formed by, I think, you and Jerry and someone else to just go over the whole code and just fix grammatical change, you know.
well, if we're finished with this regular item number 4, we will move on to that. with agenda item number 5, and I think you were gonna bring this up, weren't you, Nikki? Yes.
So, the inconsistencies within the Chapter 107 zone, they have been gone through, combed through. I have redlined them actually in Word to our current code, so that way they're easy for legal to take a stab at and do the ordinance for it. I have been trying to get this one ordinance kind of going, because we've had that in the playhouses that we've been going back and forth with legal with. So once we kind of have this one down, I will then shove that one their way. I hope to have that probably for y'all next month to start looking at as we have our processes that we'll go through. But
And was that just for 107 or the entire?
I
code?
believe there was an additional Chapter 107. There were pretty minor changes. There wasn't too many things that really, I think we were calling it non-substantial.
Substantive.
Substantial.
I can't get those.
Substantive. Oh my gosh. Okay, so small changes. We have small changes. And then there was one in Chapter 101 that was dealing with trees. But I think there is another thing that may be coming around of wanting to update some of those, the tree language as well. So it all kind of plays together. Right now, this is one of the most important ones, as all this kind of came into law back in September. So we want to make sure that all of our codes are in line with that. But
Yeah.
the Chapter 107 and the tree updates, kind of tightening those up a little. Those should be coming to y'all very soon.
It is progressing, but I think we're also taking a break because Jerry's not here. So, and he was part of the process. So,
No, I'm just thinking about the tree thing and the diameter and all the different verbiage. But I was part of the original one with Brooke and Jerry and Dave about the original 107.
Well,
That's right.
With the
That's
Actually-
non-substantive, right. It was mostly tweaking stuff that should have been
Right.
kind of put in different places
Right.
a little bit.
Well, the substantive changes to the tree ordinance that this subcommittee is working on, Jerry and I and Pat, was approved by the P and Z and went to city council, but then apparently some other changes were suggested, so that's why it was tabled at city council.
We don't have it in ordinance.
We don't have it in ordinance form in the correct
this is
language.
gonna go back through the process that I was just describing, where when it leaves here, it leaves in ordinance form.
Oh, it does,
And
okay.
that did not. Okay, so before any of our products leave here, they will be in ordinance form.
I have a question about that. I understand the rationale, and I think it's a good change. However, you know, I've been on P&Z now, 3 years almost, I think? And we do have a tendency to change things after they've already been, you know, approved once. And every time we change things, is it gonna cost the legal, I mean, I guess our legal team is who's putting it in ordinance form, right?
Mhm.
And so it's gonna be expensive, but I think we just need to be careful about how often we change things, because I think that having it in ordinance form is gonna make it a little bit more challenging in that regard. I
It-
just wanted to caution.
It's a pay me, we had some discussion around that, about the cost, and it's kind of a pay me now or pay me later. You know, because if we can follow it in ordinance format, you know, we'll all be on the same page as that is happening. And whenever it leaves us, we should be pretty confident by that point that this is really kind of what it is we wanted to do, okay? Now, if we wait and put it into ordinance form at the tail end of our process, then we start looking at it new and saying, well, you know, that's not really what we said. You know, or those, or, you know, the ordinance, it doesn't include that thing that we put in there about this. And so we go through the churn that way. So it's, the idea is that, you know, we're starting with a format that we're all agreed contains what it is we think we wanted to say. Conception, next meeting, ordinance form. Does that say what we said last meeting? And we'll get it cut, we'll get it right there. We can still have some more discussion about what else needs to go into it. But we've established now a clear format for that discussion.
Okay.
Then I think there's always the risk that after doing that, it could still be shot down by city council.
Sure can. You bet, you bet.
True.
Here's my 2 cents on it. The notion is that most of the work and the policy decisions are being hashed around by P&Z. And then what you don't want to happen is to hash that around, send it up in general concepts language, and then there arises a legal problem with what was suggested, or there's a gap with what was suggested. So the thought was to get, when P&Z believes you have a pretty final concept, get that put into legal language at that point, so that it doesn't go to council or to our city attorney, get drafted up and it's not what you intended. So we want that draft to come before you send it to council. Now, but not before you're ready, in the sense of having done what you think is the right solution on whatever the project is. So when Dave is going to ask you, are you ready to have this put into code language? It's not, are we ready to adopt this? It's, are we comfortable enough that we have what we're talking about? We have conceptualized what we're talking about. We want the legal language so we can go to public hearing with the legal language. What this would do is have that legal language when P&Z is ready to go to public hearing on it, which has to happen before you can send a recommendation to the city council. So we're trying to find the sweet spot for getting the legal review. And if there are changes afterwards, they're probably going to be minor rather than major. So it wouldn't be that much more legal expense, or even any more legal expense.
You're saying that it has to go to public hearing for P&Z before it can go to city council in any form?
Oh, it goes to city council to set for public hearing, but not for substantive discussion.
Okay.
It can't go as a recommendation from P&Z until you've had a public hearing. It can't go to council with a recommendation to adopt until you've had the public hearing. You can do that jointly with the council, but you can't send a recommendation to adopt a recommendation to council to adopt a particular ordinance until it's had a public hearing, because you want to get the public input before you make your recommendation as well.
So I just want to make sure I'm clear on this, that once we approve the basis of what we want to have in it, and we're pretty sure that's where it's at, we're not going to add a bunch of more stuff, then we ask to get it put into
Legal language.
Legal language.
Yeah.
It
And
will
then we,
actually be by motion
okay,
to do that.
and then we would vote whether to send that to city council.
Then you
Oh,
would,
for-
you
for,
would,
public
whether you
hearing.
recommend it for public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's when the city council can decide to have a joint public hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay? I think we're formalizing what was maybe a little too loose. So, this is gonna help us get through process a lot better, I think. If it doesn't, well,
We hope.
that's right. We're hoping. All right. So anything else about that? Any other discussion? Well, folks, we don't have anything else.
Why not?
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn this
All right,
meeting.
we have a motion.
I'll second it.
You second that, okay, motion second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, aye. And we'll see you next month, I hope. I think next month's gonna be a really interesting meeting.